Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Hillbilly Files. My name is Leo, and I will be your host today. And today I'm in one of our favorite places to come and do videos. I'm in Logan, West Virginia, and it just has a unique feel all of its own, you know. Logan sits deep in the Appalachian mountains, where history and legend never really go away. Long before the coal mines, this land belonged to native tribes like the Shawnee and the Mingo and the Adena people before them. The town got its name from Chief Logan, a Mingo tribal leader known for a heartbreaking speech in 1774 after his family was murdered. His speech became famous all across early America. Though the town bears his name, Chief Logan eventually left the area and later died in a battle. He's buried in New York, and not in the place that now bears his name. The town itself started back in the early 1800s. It was first called Lawsonville, named after Anthony Lawson and his wife Annie, who owned all of the land for many miles around. Later, it was renamed Aracoma, after a local native woman known as Princess Aracoma. According to legend, she was the daughter of Chief Cornstalk. She married a white man and was killed in a raid while protecting her people. Princess Aracoma is believed to have been buried close by, right about there, matter of fact, where workers once uncovered the grave of a Native American woman. The burial site matched both the time period and the way of life described in Aracoma's story. Items found in the grave, along with the care in how she was laid to rest, led many to believe that it could only be her. Today, there is a historic marker in town honoring her life and her story, and we actually did a full video on Aracoma last winter. Annie Lawson is buried in the old Aracoma cemetery up there on the hill. Her gravestone states that she was murdered by her slaves, but that story feels a little bit suspicious to a lot of people. Some think there's considerably more to it, maybe even something darker that was never shared with anyone. We covered her story before too, but we'd like to do an updated one soon. In 1824, Logan County was formed. The town became the county seat in 1853, and in 1907, the name was changed to Logan to match the county and honor Chief Logan. When coal was discovered in the late 1800s, everything changed. The railroads came, the money flowed in, and Logan became one of the richest towns in southern West Virginia. But with money came power and control, and one man had more of that than most people. Sheriff Don Chaffen ran the city of Logan like his own little kingdom. Backed by coal companies, he used force to stop miners from joining unions. In 1921, he led the coal company's hired henchmen against thousands of armed miners in the Battle of Blair Mountain, which was the largest labor uprising in U.S. history, dwarfing anything that any of us have ever seen in our lifetimes. People either feared him or they hated him. Some people did both. After his fall from power and a moonshining conviction, he moved to Huntington and retired as a millionaire on his ill-gotten blood money. He lived for years in a large house on Main Street here in Logan, and I'm visiting that house today, among other things. It's still standing and filled with history. The very home that once symbolized power and control in coal country. But Logan isn't only known for coal and labor wars. The very ground that it sits on is said to be cursed forever by the natives who died here long ago. And for one of the region's biggest unsolved mysteries as well, the murder of Mamie Thurman. In 1932, Mamie was found dead on Trace Mountain. She was young, pretty, and popular. She was active in church, but was also rumored to be connected to some of the most powerful men around. She had been shot, her throat slit. A local handyman was arrested, but many still believe he was framed to protect very powerful people. Over the years, many people swear that they have seen her ghost on that mountain, walking, crying, or just waiting, wanting to finally be heard. Logan is built on much more than just coal. It's built on stories. Some of them are true, and some of them are legends. Others are somewhere in between. From Chief Logan and Princess Aracoma to Annie Lawson's strange grave, Don Chaffen's rule, and Mamie Thurman's ghost. This old town holds on to its past. So today, we're going to look at some of these stories and sites as we come across them. So guys, without further delay, welcome to Logan, West Virginia. And y'all try to, incorporate your best Ricardo Montalban voice there. I'm not real good at that. Anyway, I brought the scooter today. Now we're expecting some rain at some point. In theory, it's going to miss us here. I'm at the, I stopped at the old Logan Regional Medical Center, the hospital here in Logan. It's got a, check this out, how it stands up on stilts over top of the river. But I figured this would be a good place to open our video, because from right here, you can see a lot of the places that I'll be visiting. Don's place is back up here. Mamie Thurman, where her church service was held, was back over here. That's the funeral home where she was at. Aracoma, Princess Aracoma, right on that building right there with all the billboards, right on the other side of it. There is a federal built state building, federal building, new federal building. Where is it? It's right there behind those trees. We did a story on that one too. The entire town, this section of town, as near as we can tell, this section of town was apparently, well, it was more or less a burial ground. Because when that federal building right there on the other side of those trees was built, there were 44 graves that had to be moved. Anyway, we're going to go and visit some of these locations. Like I said, I'm going to go park, find me a central location, and just kind of move around. Okay, we seem to be ready. Got the little scooter out, got him set up, and everybody, anybody who suspected that I was going to hillbilly this thing out, go ahead and give yourself 5 extra points. If you knew for a fact that I was going to hillbilly this puppy out, go ahead and give yourself 10 points. You're obviously a very intelligent person. Anyway, I have parked. We have landed. over by City Hall is right there. City Hall, police station, and fire department on the other side. This is a really good centralized location. And I spoke to them and asked them if it was all right to go ahead and park here. They said yes. So, you know, we're good to go, and we're parked at the police department right beside the cruiser, so you can't beat that. Let's go. Hopefully the rain is done, but if not, we'll find some place and hole up until it passes. Let's see, where do we want to go first? Let's see, let's go up Ann's first. Go up to the Lawson grave first. Little ride. Turn right here. Feels much better out here. It's still a little bit warm. Actually, let me stop for just a second, back up. I just saw something. Got a little bit of a better view up here. You can kind of see the island right there. That's it. That's where the old village actually sat at, right there. And you imagine, you know, for thousands of years, that's probably been occupied. You know, it's just a really good spot. You know, it's by the river. Three rivers, well, not three rivers, one river and a stream, you know, they converge, and it's just a really good place to set up housekeeping. So I can see why they chose that spot. Most certainly, it's a great spot. It's a great spot for a house. Right here. Let me get this thing on some level ground. Good enough. And get the camera, and we'll go up and check out the grave. It is, you know that big spire I showed you from town? That's it right there. We are going right back there, right beside of it. Okay, scooter should be good enough. I've got him in park mode. They'll have to carry off a 70-pound scooter to steal it. It won't turn. But right up here is where we're going. check out that one. Look how big. But where we're going is right back up here behind it. Right there. That is Ann Lawson's grave right there. Sacred to the memory of Ann Lawson. Hang on. Let me find it. Wife of Anthony. I know it's Lawson, but you know. Anthony Lawson of Logan County, Virginia. This is before West Virginia, obviously. Who was born on the parish of Longshoreby in the county of Northumberland, okay, England, on the 17th day of May in 1783, and was cruelly murdered on the night of the 27th of December 1847. Hang on. It goes on down. By two of her own wow, there it is. Wow. Now the thing about it, according to the story, Ann's husband had went to a Christmas party somewhere here in Logan. I'm not exactly sure where, but supposedly she had a strongbox. Now according to the old story, got a view from up here. There's the hospital where I was at earlier. But according to the old story, when her husband went to this Christmas party, the two slaves murdered her and stole the strongbox. Supposedly, there's a lady around here who still possesses this old burnt strongbox that the slaves tried to burn and open up. Now, one was hung, one wasn't. But to be honest, a lot of people think that it was made up. I don't know, just kind of, you know that old saying, if something seems suspicious, it probably is. And so that's kind of why we just kind of left that one, you know, because no one knows. No one on earth, no living person actually knows the truth of Ann Lawson's story. But it does make for a very interesting, we'll say, a historical artifact. Like I said, the little West Virginia town's history never does really go away. It's still here in the old buildings and in the people's memories and in the old legends. And in a way, those old stories never go away. They're still here. They're just waiting for someone to come along and tell them. That's what we're doing. All right, let's head on out and head to our next stop. Now, Mamie Thurman. Check out that view. Looks like there used to be a bunch of buildings sitting right here, but a lot of the old ones are still left. The one we're after, though, is just over my right shoulder, right there. Get the camera lined up. That church right there was where Mamie Thurman's funeral was handled at, and there was a whole bunch of really interesting things about her grave and the ghost legend afterward. Mamie Thurman is actually West Virginia's second most famous ghost after oh, I can't think of it now. I was just had it on the tip of my tongue. Oh Lord, I hate that. I hate doing that. Zona Hester Shue. That's it. The Greenbrier ghost. Anyway, that Greenbrier ghost, Greenbrier County. Most people think it's got to do with the Greenbrier Hotel, but it don't. She is West Virginia's most famous ghost, and Zona, right here, is our second most famous ghost in the state of West Virginia. For those of you who are curious, Zona was the first case to ever have someone basically sent to death on the testimony of a ghost. And yeah, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? Of course, that has nothing to do with our story today. It's a totally different town, different place. But yeah, right here is where Mamie Thurman was brought to. And there was a lot of speculation, like I said, about, you know, the people she was seeing and all this kind of stuff, and powerful people and things of that nature. But you see the building directly in front of you. Oh, wrong handle. Hit the brake, meant to hit the gas. Now, right here, this is that new state building. It's a state building. I said federal, but it's not. It's state. Right there. This is the one where they found, I think it was 44 bodies underneath it, if I'm not mistaken. 44 Native Americans and the remains. There was a big ceremony. I was just talking to the fireman a few minutes ago, Mr. Ellis. He declined to be on camera. I tried, y'all. I tried. But he was just telling me a little bit about it, and you know, told me really a couple good places too. But I think we're actually related. The Logan, remember, honor, and respect. The Logan Prehistoric Village and its people. Look at the dates. Now you look at those dates on that. AD 500 to 1200, AD 1450 to 1640. So we're talking people that have been settled in this area in Logan here for many thousands of years. And check that out, Stark Tower. That's where Tony Stark lives, y'all. Iron Man. Now this is also very well documented and pretty famous little place on its own. They're the ones that handled Mamie Thurman's funeral and a whole bunch of other, you know, historic characters and all sorts of things. Let's see, what's the dates on that? I believe it has, yeah, a Honecker Funeral Home, 1908 to 2008, 100 years. So this old building right here has seen a whole lot. Hello, just doing a historical video about your building. But this old building right here has seen a whole lot of the history, you know, in 1908. So a lot of Logan's history. This building was sitting right here when it happened. Now I'm gonna cruise right up here to the end of the block before I go back the other way. Now, this little grassy spot, big mural sorry. Welcome to Logan. Right, we've got decorations here, lights, little gazebo, some stores, businesses. Exxon, right across the street. I'm walking in the spot where supposedly Princess Aracoma's body was found. Basically, she got murdered. They murdered her family, buried her unceremoniously, and then later on, years later, dug her back up. And you know, the whole thing was just considered very disrespectful and poor taste, you know, that sort of thing. And so as far as, you know, the native peoples were concerned, it was considered in poor taste. And I'm sure that a lot of you probably figure the same thing, you know, that it was done in poor taste. You know, to me, robbing a pharaoh's grave, you're still robbing a pharaoh's, you know, you're robbing a grave. Just because he's 3,000 years old don't mean it's, you know, not his grave anymore. But anyway, this is supposedly the spot where her body laid. Princess Aracoma. Now, of course, they didn't really have royalty. You know, it was just sort of a nickname. It's her lineage. You know, there was no like royalty or anything like that. But anyway, all right, moving on. Right down there is where I'm parked at, down that way. But we are headed up this way. Since it's a one-way street, we'll stay over here out of the way. I'm going the wrong way, technically. Probably should have went out the other way. But we cruise real slow. Walking speed. Morning. Now that's the old building I was telling you about right there. State building. Kenny's Records. Gold Town Jewelry. The Logan County Courthouse. It says Logan County Courthouse right on it. So I'm guessing it's the Logan County Courthouse probably. This is, if I remember right, the third courthouse here. The original was burnt. Actually, I believe there's a historical marker, come to think of it, right over here. That would be much better than me trying to recount it from memory. That little scooter's just handy. Now, little historical marker right outside the courthouse here, and there's another one right there. We'll get to that one just in a second. This first one, okay, let me get where y'all can see this. It's right there in front of it, right in front of the building. It says, "In memory of Princess Aracoma, who with her tribe made the first settlement in this valley." Questionable. There was a couple civilizations, whole civilizations, you know. But anyway, her death occurred about 1780. And this was erected by the Princess Aracoma chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. In May of 1936 was when that plaque was made. I would imagine it stood here in front of the old courthouse, which is long gone. And if I remember right, the original one was burned during the Civil War. And then another one was built, had a great big clock tower in it. And then finally, this one. But anyhow, we got one more right there. Yeah. Burning of Logan County Courthouse. I was right. On January 12th in 1862, Colonel Edward Sieber led the 37th Ohio in pursuit of the Black Striped Company, a Confederate guerrilla unit, on the 14th. On the 14th, learn to read, Leo. On the 14th, skirmishing erupted at Logan. The rebels were driven back, but their hillside position and Rising Guyandotte, okay, the river, I get it now, the Rising Guyandotte River, we kind of left out a word there, forced the Union troops to withdraw from the town on January 15th, but not before Sieber had them burn the courthouse and the other buildings. Imagine that. So this little piece of dirt right here, this little piece of ground, I mean, you know, Civil War history, Native American history, coal history, corruption history. Don Chaffen, don't forget about him. So yeah, this little piece of property right here, this courthouse, has an amazing history behind it. And to be honest, I would imagine most people probably don't know much more than the two signs out here. But I mean, it's just amazing history to see and hear and experience, and just kind of roam around and look at this stuff. All right, moving on. Let's see. Okay. Now we'll take a shortcut through the parking lot. Okay, we can't take a shortcut through the parking lot. It's got a wall. I could lift over it, but we'll just ride. Riding's easier. Get up on the sidewalk. This is a one-way. Down into low speed. Let's get down into walking speed and cruise. I like that. Little scooter's handy. You can show big places. Look at the mural. That would be them. Cornstalk, Aracoma, a cat, very fast cat too. And that cat ain't playing. But anyhow, little mural. Thought I'd stop here and show this to you guys real quick. We're just going right up here around the curve is where we're going. Watch for cars. Okay. Like I said, we are going kind of the wrong way here. One-way street. We're going the wrong way. That's okay. We'll walk. Sort of. Duck. Little branch. All right, here is where we are headed. This is Don Chaffin's house. Well, I just ran into another scooter rider out here today. Someone else out here riding their scooter around on a Sunday. Of course, he was 10. I ain't exactly 10 anymore. Anyway, and the Holland Apartments, 1926, right across the street. All kinds of, I'm sure, lots of these old houses are very interesting old historic places as well. But this one right here is the one we've came here for today. This was probably just about the nicest house in town. And like I said, this was paid for, this was quite literally paid for, with a whole bunch of blood. A whole bunch of blood built this house. The largest labor uprising in U.S. history. Like I said, nothing that we have ever seen even comes close to the labor uprising that the man who lived in this house right here, I don't want to say instigated. The Chaffen house, Don Chaffin's historical home place, Logan Women's Club. Pretty old place though, isn't it? The woman's club here is here now. I noticed that they have a sign on the back. I noticed that the last time. But it's interesting that, you know, that the old building is still standing and that it's actually being used, you know, for something good. You know, something good come out of it, I suppose. Because, like I said, there's a whole lot of people who paid for this little piece of property with their lives. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not a joke. That's not a, you know, that's a fact. A lot of people. Just the Battle of Blair Mountain alone. I'm not even sure how many casualties there were, but just the one battle. I mean, not counting all of the other union stuff. You know, there were workers trying to unionize, and see, the coal company, they would bring you on down here under the pretense of, we're going to give you this awesome job. We're going to give you a place to live. We're going to give you everything you need to carve out a future for yourself and your family. We want you to bring your family. We're a family-oriented business. You found out later that the reason they wanted you to bring your children is because they was going to use them as leverage. And that money that they paid you, that they promised you that they were going to give you when you moved down here, they paid you in mind script, which we didn't tell you that up front. You know, we're not going to tell you that till after you get here. But yeah, they paid you in mind script. It was only good at the company store. And yeah, Don here, he was the one that they got, the sheriff of Logan County, to do all of the harassing, to go after all of the miners, to punish them, to punish the unions. And he did it quite well. He did very well at it. He was quite good at being corrupt. I'll give him that. He was quite good at it. But a moonshine conviction took him out. He got caught making moonshine, and that was what took him out. Not some form of justice for what he had done. No. None of that. He got caught making moonshine is what took him out. Interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. All right, let's go get back on the scooter and keep on cruising. We've still yet got territory to cover. Got a whole town to cover. We've still yet got to go down by the school where the old village was and go check all that stuff out. But for right now, we'll cruise on up to the end of town and check everything out and show you guys around. We'll just cruise down through until we get down into town and just see what we see. Slow down just a hair. lot of old buildings. You can tell a lot of the houses are old. Old brick. That one. You look at that one. It's an old one, isn't it? It's like an apartment building that's been there for who knows, 20s, 40s maybe. It's an old one, isn't it? Okay, moving on. I need to put some mirrors on this thing so I can see behind me. There's Don's house again. Hello. Okay, slow down. We're coming back into town. And if you'll notice how the roads are narrow, that's because these were actually built for wagons. And in a lot of places, you know, the roads will be rebuilt later, and you know, they make them a little bit wider. Well, the problem with that is these old buildings are still standing. They're still being used. So that's why you see a lot of these, you know, the streets are so narrow. That's why it has one lane all the way down through there, because this was for horses and buggies, and it hasn't been, you know, the buildings haven't been torn down to widen it out. You know, they're still standing. Look at those, whole bunch of murals there. Coal, trail riding, hunting, all sorts of stuff. Native Americans on the far end, a little bit of everything. I didn't know that one. These other two murals were even up here. I didn't even know they were here. Atomic Comics. And there's the old courthouse I just showed you. I'll let this car go by. Oh yeah, almost missed one. McCormick's. Y'all remember old school department stores from, you know, 100 years ago, before Walmart killed everybody? That one's still alive. It's McCormick's. It's been here forever. Now, it's good to see them hanging on, you know, in the face of evolution. I'm not really sure what the right word is. Progress. Now right here, you notice how skinny the streets are. doing? Now this is obviously back at the intersection where Princess Aracoma, and we are headed that way. As soon as the light changes, I get out of eco mode so I can pull out quick, not get in everybody's way. Little bicycle hanging over the door. You got to duck to get in the boutique. We are headed for the island. Welcome to the island. Home of champions and academic excellence. Logan High School Wildcats, Logan Middle School Timberwolves, and Logan Elementary School Wildcats. This is the island, guys. This is where the old villages were. Now, presumably, like I said, presumably, there were settlements long before, you know, the natives that we're talking about today. But this is actually where the village was at. Well, plural, villages, more than one. It's all school grounds now, the whole place. Just kind of curious, kind of keeping an eye out for any kind of historical markers. I see a veterans memorial. We'll look at that here just in a second. We'll just go on down and see if we see anything down here. We'll come back to the Veterans Memorial. What's that? Okay, school stuff. Home of the Wildcats. Now, like I said, what we're looking for, just to see if there's anything here, is some sort of historical marker. And we'll check out the Veterans Memorial too. The grade school, pre-K. Just imagine, look here. Imagine that ball field. I didn't notice the camera was pointing up. Just imagine that ball field right there filled with teepees and stuff. Veterans Memorial. Hit a sidewalk. Okay, they have a memorial in memory of Lila Henchman, born April 9th, 1912 to September 24th, 1989. It says Doughboy Committee. So that would be the World War I Doughboy Committee, because they were called doughboys. No, that's two. Where's one? They're the greatest generation. The others were called doughboys. But these are some of the locals who've died in various wars: Korean, World War II, Vietnam. And this part is World War II as well. Must have been a lot of them. There was a lot from Logan, wasn't there? A lot of people don't realize just how many people died in World War II. How much, what the price of their freedom really was. A lot of people have no idea, quite frankly. They live their lives in freedom, but they have no idea where it came from. Quite frankly, y'all, right there is where it came from. To the memory of all men of Logan County, West Virginia, who made the supreme sacrifice in the World War. So this is World War I. Yeah, because that's a doughboy up there. Tell the World War I uniform up there. Yeah, 1917, 1918. Kaiser Wilhelm. Now, this one is for valor, it says. Above and beyond. Logan County Congressional Medal of Honor recipients. Sergeant Ted Belcher, Vietnam 1966. Staff Sergeant Frankie Z. Molnar, M-O-L-N-A-R, Vietnam 1967. Above and beyond. Medal of Honor recipients, guys. That's impressive. I'd say you have to really do something. They don't just hand those out, you know. You have to do something. You have to save someone. You have to make a difference. Pull up by here, Wendy's. I want to show y'all something. Some more murals. Civil War. World War II. No, that's Vietnam era there, isn't it? The camo. West Virginia's own World War II Medal of Honor recipient Woody Williams, loved by the city of Logan. Start to say Williamson. Okay, here we go. I didn't even notice that. The text, that first one, it says the Logan Wildcats battle flag depicted in this mural was handmade by the wives of troops who lived in the Peach Creek, West Virginia. It's currently on display in Charleston at the West Virginia State Museum. That is cool. I did not know that. Let's see. That's the one, Woody Williams. That must be Woody there. How he earned it carrying someone out, no doubt. Now this one is wasps. But not that kind. Not the bees. Get over here out of everybody's way. Sorry. Now, WASP, the Women's Air Force Service Pilots, trained all-male cadet pilots, tested, ferried, and delivered planes for repair, towed targets for anti-aircraft gun practice, and flew searchlight tracking missions. Women, the WASPs. And that one is the Logan American Legion. And that one is airborne. That's much more modern there. That one is no doubt dedicated to the modern men and women of the military. This Wendy's. I just want to show y'all something real quick. This Wendy's right behind me right here. I was out here one morning. I'll just show you. This is Wendy's, right? Wendy's drive-through. Sitting out here years ago, it's probably 30 years ago, sitting out here having breakfast. Some guy comes out and he falls over here by these dumpsters. He didn't see us, we were sitting in a van. He gets grease out of one of those dumpsters, puts it on the ground, lays down in it, and starts screaming bloody murder. They all come running. There, look at that, military. The manager and a bunch of people come running out of Wendy's to see what's going on. And the manager says, did anybody, you know, there's people out here by then, anybody see what happened? About that time, myself and my friends all spoke up. Said, yeah, we saw. This guy came up that way. He came over here, got that grease out of that dumpster over there, poured it on the ground, laid down in it, rolled around, started screaming. About that time, the old boy, he gets up and takes off running. Never saw him again. He took off. He's gone. Alright, moving on. Go through the parking lot. And right over there, right there is where we started out this morning. Logan Regional Medical Center. I didn't even turn my radio on today. I put a little radio on this thing. Bluetooth speaker, never even turned it on. Huh. But that's the boulevard that I was telling you about. Let me get up here where you can see it. So it goes up through that way. It's sort of a cruise thing, you know, you cruise up that way and around town and, you know, just a big loop. But it's called the boulevard. Hard to believe there's this much history, and guys, we're just touching on a little bit of it, you know. We're just touching on basically four stories here. There is tons of history. Princess Aracoma right in front of you, literally in front of you. Colors of light. I can't see what color the lights are from there. Let's try this. That's better. Yeah. Stark Tower, y'all. Tony Stark is in there building the next Iron Man suit right now. You know he is. It says so right on it. Stark Tower. Of course, it originally was Browning Tower, but you know, we won't mention that part. this one here, as you can see, is an old Oddfellows Rebecca Lodge. I don't see a date on it anywhere. Many, many, many years ago, they sort of served as social programs. They helped with, you know, a lot of unwed mothers, homeless people, you know, people who needed food, needed shelter, needed, you know, this sort of thing. And so I thought this was well worth stopping to mention. You know, the Oddfellows. Heather did a story about them not too awful long ago. It's a really good little organization. They did a whole lot of good. But after, you know, Roosevelt, the New Deal, okay, they sort of became obsolete. There's a cornerstone right there. I cannot see it though. Oh man, come on. 1906. It looks like it was first an Episcopal church, but I could be wrong about that. But it says 1906. But they may have moved in afterward. But the Oddfellows always had a tendency to go for unique looking buildings. And this one certainly qualifies. They like that kind of stuff. Unique looking buildings. Most of them you'll find. There's probably, I'm sure there's a few old Oddfellows buildings that are in, you know, plain buildings, that sort of thing. But generally speaking, they will be really interesting looking buildings. Don't know why, but it's kind of cool. Anyway, all right, moving on. Now I'm gonna go down here. We've already been down this way, but I'm gonna go down here and cross. Hello. And show y'all something a little bit different. See what I was saying about the old buildings? A lot of them, you know, they predate cars. Predate the concept of cars, some of them. Look here. You know, of course, y'all know, you know, about Devil Ants Trail System. I know I've mentioned that. You know, Logan has the Devil Ants Trail System as well. But this is one of the places that you can come to. McCoy Station, now open axe throwing. You've heard of Devil Ants? It's called Devil Axe. Not Devil Ants, Devil Axe. And it's axe throwing place. Yeah. And there's where we started off at. Over there's the church, but we're headed back that way and loop back around. City Hall's over there. I think I'm in the right spot. I think City Hall is the brick building back over there. It says police on that end and so forth. If I'm not mistaken, this right here, it was either that building or that building right there. I'm not exactly sure which one, but when I was over at City Hall and was talking to them, they were telling me about how they had been, when they were working on these, you know, building these, that they had a problem. You see, they kept running into those bodies too. Yeah. They kept running into them and said that there were dug out places under the ground around in Logan from, you know, from the natives, from the Civil War. you know, where people were hiding and all kinds of stuff. And when they were digging these buildings, or digging the foundations, I should say, for these buildings, that they ran into a bunch of that stuff, you know, collapsing because of hidden places underneath the ground from the Civil War, and just different things from burial grounds and all kinds of stuff. That's wild, isn't it? You know, just right in your backyard, you know, there's all kinds of history. And the old City Hall building right here, it actually looks pretty old, doesn't it? I'm gonna say, just guessing, I would say probably 50s. It's not that old. I think this section here, the fire department section, looks newer than the old courthouse does. You can tell the difference in the brick right here, that this side is much older than that side. But, all right, I'm not quite ready to go yet. I'm just gonna ride around a little bit more. I'm just not ready. What can I say? Okay, and we are back at City Hall, where we started out at earlier. Up there's, like I said, up there's the spire and all this other stuff. We've pretty much covered the whole town. That little scooter came in real handy, didn't it? And yeah, I was kind of hoping it would, you know, places like this where you want to show bigger things, you can kind of ride around and do it. But anyway, if y'all, any of y'all down this way anytime soon, or well, I guess it don't have to be anytime soon, the town, the old town of Logan is still sitting here, and all of the history of this place is still here, and it's just waiting for someone to come along and explore it. It's just waiting on you. If you're down this way, it's a cool little place to come and stop, kind of hang out, spend a day, talk to a few locals, visit some sites. Anyway guys, I guess this pretty much covers this video. I think I've just about covered the entire town and a whole bunch of extra stuff. I was enjoying riding the scooter, so I just kept going. What can you say? You know, what can I say? But anyway guys, I guess I better get out of here and get this video on back to the house and let Heather do her thing. So I guess until next time guys, thank you all for coming along. Thank you for supporting our channel, you know, for trying to help do what we do, you know. Thank y'all very much. And to all of our Patreon supporters and page members and viewers, and we just like to say thank y'all, and we appreciate y'all. And I guess that's about it. Y'all have a really good day, and we will see you next time. Leo out. I guess that pretty much covers it. See y'all later. I do have one other spot that I forgot to show y'all. This is Trace Mountain here, right behind me, 22 Mine Road. That is where she was killed at. Excuse me. Now, if you put your vehicle in neutral, reverse, neutral, and you can see it's uphill. The ghost of Mamie Thurman supposedly pushes your car back uphill to keep you from danger here, to keep you safe. Now, I'm going to let go of the brake here in a second, and we're going to see what happens. You ready? We are moving backwards, uphill. Check this out, guys. The ghost of Mamie Thurman moved me away from the road, or so the legend says. Of course, in reality, if you stand on the other side of the road over there, you can see there's a dip here and you're actually rolling downhill. But we won't tell nobody that. All the people that come over here ghost hunting for Mamie Thurman's ghost, yeah, it works. Your car does indeed roll back uphill. Interesting, huh? Okay, now, Leo out, blah, 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 Leo out. Okay, see y'all later. Bye.